Did you fix
No, we're not supposed to.
Oh.
That's why it's working better. Yeah, it's okay. We'll work on that. Good evening. We're about to start the June 17th meeting of the Glenville Town Board. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. For tonight's invocation, I found what's entitled A Prayer for Peace in Our Communities. It was drafted by the Church of England in August of 2011, but it seems apropos today. Gracious God, we pray for peace in our communities today. We commit to you all who work for peace and to end the tensions, and those who work to uphold law and justice. We pray for an end to fear, for comfort and support to those who suffer, for calm in our streets and in our cities. People may go about their lives in safety and peace. In your mercy, hear our prayers, now and always. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilman Martin.
Here.
Councilman Aragosa.
Here.
Councilman Godlewski.
Here.
Let the record show Councilwoman Worsbowski is absent. Supervisor Kessler.
Here. I know some of you watching may not have the agenda fully in front of you. We do not have any additions or any changes to the agenda, but what we do have on it, we'll open a public hearing shortly regarding Sewer District 9. After that, we'll set the water warrant for Water District 11. We then will take up a series of resolutions calling for a public hearing on July 15th, actually 2 of them. And then we'll take up a resolution for taking on that extension in, which is known as Extension 21 in Sewer District 9, which the public hearing is about tonight. Then we will do a resolution establishing the standard workday for certain elected officials, resolution after that on town board minutes, and then reports. I'm sorry, we do have one add-on I missed. We do have to take accept a bid for the lowest bid regarding the paving of the senior center. And the good news on that one is it came in significantly low. This doesn't happen often. It's significantly lower than budgeted. We budgeted $80,000 and it came in at $36,000. So that's finally got a win out there, folks. It took a while, but so with that, I'll start with town council reports on my left with Councilman Godlewski.
I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of things that have occurred recently in my neighborhood, the Wicked Heights neighborhood. Start with some sad news. I wanted to offer my thoughts and my condolences. The matriarch of the family voice. She was a steadfast advocate in our community, a great Rotarian, and hard advocate for all causes for veterans. So very sad news on that front. She was my neighbor as well. Happy news, Mr. Blaine King turned 100 years old, another of my neighbors. Councilwoman Worsbowski represented the town, and I just wanted to extend my congratulations to him. There's a lot of stories that pass from neighbor to neighbor in the neighborhood about Mr. King during, well, just different things that Mr. King has done. And then I also wanted to share one other thing, kind of echoing off of the supervisor's prayer this evening. Not to get too deep into what's been going on in society and the world, but one of my neighbors has a sign up on their lawn that I think kind of expresses how I've been feeling more recently. And full disclosure, it's a neighbor that some of my neighbors I know very well, some of my neighbors I know their kids' names, know where they work. This is a neighbor that we kind of pass by, say hi, say hello when we see one another, but it doesn't go much further than that. They have a very nice house, and my wife frequently comments about how nice the house is to me. But the sign reads, "In this house, we believe Black lives matter. Women's rights are human rights. No human is illegal. Science is real. Love is love. Kindness is everything." And I thought that was a really nice expression, a really good way to share some thoughts during this kind of uneasy time that we're all experiencing on the heels of COVID and with the current in the wake of horrific events that occurred in Minneapolis that have led to protests ongoing. And I think as a society, if there's any takeaway and there's any way to kind of bring like that, at the end of an Aesop fable, that moral, is that we can do better with some of these issues. We can do better on issues of racism and homophobia and bigotry and chauvinism. We need to ensure that, for generations to come, that these things die a fast death because they're really unacceptable. Some of these issues have been going on for years, and they're unacceptable here in 2020. That's all, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you. Councilman Martin.
Yeah, just a quick report on the Code Revision Committee. The committee did have a conference call with basically the staff members on the call. Melissa, Arnie, and Jim were on the call, and I did some. Then I saw the email the next day and did some commenting on the draft changes to the zoning law that are forthcoming. 2 of them are on the agenda tonight as a result of that work. And then the major piece that's forthcoming, and I think it's going to be worthy of a workshop, will be changes to the sign regulations, that portion of the code. And basically what's happening there, the sign regulations are kind of spread throughout the code, and therefore that brings complications. And the idea is to bring all the regulations into one section of the law, and that'll be the forthcoming change you'll see. But that is a little more significant, so that's going to be I think a workshop session forthcoming. So it was a good discussion they had. I want to thank the 3 of them for their continuing work on this committee. They've done some great work. They're a great resource, working in the code every day as they do, and they've been a real contributor to making it a better piece of law. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Aragosa.
So I'm going to continue to talk a little bit about what I do every day with the Schenectady Foundation over at the Schenectady Boys and Girls Club. That program is still going on. We're going to continue at least through the end of next week from that location. While it has reduced in scale because people are going back to work and there is less need, there are still people out there throughout the county who are receiving deliveries through the coalition and the foundation to get out groceries to them. Just last week, I delivered myself to a family up in West Glenville who was on their quarantine because one of the family members tested positive. It's still there and it's still happening. After next Friday, the foundation will continue throughout the county with their program on a much smaller scale out of a different location. The Schenectady Inner City Commission over the program within the city itself. So keep in mind that hotline number is going to be available right through the end of the summer and probably beyond that. So just wanted to convey that. Next part, as we're moving into phase 3 today, we're now allowed to go into restaurants and bars and at a limited capacity. Please keep in mind that those bars and restaurants suffered a real hit over the last 3 months. So if you're going to go there, follow the rules. Follow the rules so they don't get another hit because you didn't follow the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to privilege of the floor. And is there anyone out there interested in being heard at privilege of the floor? Just raise your hand. I'll give it a minute, but I see nobody interested in speaking at privilege of the floor. Going once, going twice. Okay, privilege of the floor is now closed. We'll move to supervisors' comments to the board. A couple of things I just want to update you on more than anything is We do have some new workplace protocols going into effect here for our staff. You just went through the first exercise there for visitors signing in. But what we are now going to do, and I think you probably got the email on this with the staff today, all employees must sign in upon reporting to work. And that sign-in serves as the mandatory health screening, self-assessment, which asks about any symptoms or temperatures or things along these manners, or if they've been in contact with anyone with COVID in the last 14 days or so. So every employee will be signing in to start their day, and we'll keep that employee log. And the memo outlines the things they're attesting to. So take a look at the memo if you have any questions on that. It also states that if employees who are sick should stay home or return home if they have become ill at work, and if they're experiencing the COVID-19 symptoms, as are talked about in the memo, they must report this illness to the supervisor in his or her absence to the Director of Human Services or myself, the town supervisor. Anytime a visitor comes within 6 feet of any person, acceptable face covering must be worn, and that's we've gone through that with our employees as well. The big one, all personnel must complete the training infection control for essential employees video, which is provided by the town. That link is going to go to the employees if it hasn't already, for them to watch that mandatory part of our mandatory training. And then we'll have a continuous log for visitors to any site the town owns, but to the town hall in particular. But this does not include folks who are coming in for brief transactions with the glass barrier in place. This is only for visitors who come in and are looking to stay. I think the standard is 15 minutes or more. And so this does cover board, planning, zoning members, anyone like that, developers, folks who aren't here on a daily, day in, day, they're not, that don't have a desk here. Those folks are considered to be visitors. Regarding COVID things, thank you, Earl, for keeping us up to date. The executive orders out of the governor's office have been fast and furious, and some changing and some confusing. And then there's other things that aren't orders, but we're keeping on top of it and complying to the best of our ability. But now that we've gone from 10 to 25 allowed in gathering, I think it's an appropriate time to open the meetings back up to the public. We seldom have more than 25 people in this room. And I don't anticipate that being necessarily an issue. And if it is, we'll figure out how to deal with it. But I think it's time to open up now that the gatherings can go to 25. We'll figure out I think people will self-select where they want to sit as far as being away from folks, but we'll figure out the room at a later date. We've already taken a couple of rows of chairs out. We can move chairs forward. But it seems like it's time. As far as going into phase, by then we'll be into phase 4. And then one more thing I just want to update you on, because Vicki and I have been getting a lot of calls on it, is sports leagues in the park. There is a little confusion out there as far as what the governor's put through with what sports leagues can and cannot do. But it appears, and Earl, you can correct me if I've kind of messed this up a little bit, but it appears that we're looking at July 6th as a date for some sports, but what he considers low risk sports, baseball, softball, and a few others, can start. You have to be in phase 3, which by then we'd be in phase 4, actually. But July 6th will be the first date that leagues can officially start. Because we've gone from the 10 to the 25 gathering, theoretically, and I guess in practice now, you can have practice. A team can gather in the park as long as they're under 25 people. They can break up a team and a coach can take someone over, and keep them far enough apart if that's how it's going to work out. But we can at least allow them to get into practice under those rules. They still have to follow all the CDC. Been getting are already allowing play and allowing. I haven't found evidence of that. We hear it, but I don't know if that's true. But we have to follow the rules that are set forth. And if other towns are risking the $10,000 fine, that's on them. But we're going to hold to the July 6th date for sports leagues starting up again. And those are only certain sports, if I recall.
Yeah, it's certain sports like, again, baseball, softball, I believe crew, I think cross country, field hockey, does not include soccer, does not include lacrosse, does not include football at this time, doesn't include hockey at this time. What it does say is that, or what the governor has said is that as of July 6th, that the leagues can have games and that spectators are limited to 2 spectators per player. And, but there is right now, when the governor's order last week lifted the 10-person limit to 25 for people gathering, there is a question there that teams can practice as long as they fit within that 25 and that they are following CDC guidelines, cleaning, wiping down things, bats, all that kind of stuff can happen.
Thank you, Earl. I just also want to update you on some finance issues as well tonight. As you know, we're kind of in some difficult times as far as what's happening with the state and where we are with grants. Grants are still frozen right now. We don't have any new news on that. We continue almost daily to try to follow up on that, Melissa and I. But you know, the bad news that it's starting to really start to solidify here is sales tax collections are way down. We're down 37% over last year at this time, which means for us, we've had a drop. We'll have a drop in revenue of about $65,000 in just 2 months. That's the Metroplex portion of the sales tax. I think we're projecting somewhat conservatively perhaps, but I think we're projecting about $80,000, $85,000 in revenue loss in that line. So that's a significant hit. Now, there's a report the other day that retail is roaring back. I would imagine there's a lot of pent up demand there that folks are trying to get out. And so we'll see where that goes over the next couple of months. But I would anticipate we've locked in about $65,000 in loss already in that line. So somewhere between there and 80, 85 is probably a good bet, unfortunately.
Can I just add
Sure.
something quickly? Roaring back is a great idea. Problem is, as what we're seeing and what our industry is seeing, the supplies aren't catching up.
Yeah,
The roaring back.
that's true.
That's where we're going to hit a wall in terms of making up any of that loss.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to hit the wall when we're trying to make up the loss. We gotta plan for that because it's, unless all of a sudden people go out and start buying cars left and right.
Right.
In terms of products on the shelves in stores,
Right.
they're not coming back fast enough.
Even online, the backup, if you buy online, there's a backup. I know someone bought something, they were telling me August 11th is when it will end up shipping. So, but the point is the report was there that it has come back quite strongly in the past week or two. So we'll see if that's even sustainable. I'm not even sure it is, but supply or not. The other bad news is the 2021 tax cap continues to drop each month. As you can imagine, it would drop each month. Just hold a moment. Okay. And we're currently at 1.65% with only the June CPI data left there for before the final tax cap calculations. So 4 months ago, we were projected at 2%. Now we're down to 1.65, which drops $35,000 off our allowable tax levy increase of 2021. So, again, now start putting the numbers together, 65 to 85,000 loss in revenue, loss of 35,000 in potential. As we sit here, it's probably going to be more by the time the tax cap settles down. It's starting to add up to, we're into 6 figures now where we're looking to try to close that gap. Staff reductions during this COVID episode these reductions mandated by New York State has resulted in the town paying employees for over 7,000 hours of time that wasn't actually worked. I just want to point that out, not that this is anything due to the employees, it's state mandated, but the COVID-19 wage bill was just shy of $200,000 so far, plus an additional 60,000 or so in wage benefits, retirement, all that stuff. So, 260,000, it costs the taxpayers $260,000 without anyone really even noticing, and that's just something we need to be aware of. On the good news front, we've rolled out an online payment portal for our water bills. That was activated last Friday over much demand. We had planned to do it for COVID anyway, and so we had a little hiccup, a technological hiccup. Once we got past that, in the first 4 days, 134 residents paid with their through that portal with their card. So that really was helpful for them. It kept 134 people theoretically out of the town hall, which was helpful for everybody as well. So I think that was good. Yeah, and I think we're going to see more before it's over. That was just in the first 4 days. Wait till the last day. See some. I want to bring you up to date on 2 executive orders I signed in the past week. Last week was the executive order that would waive the site plan review process and any permitting fee for any outdoor, any changes to someone's site for outdoor dining. That was very helpful to the restaurants to be able to get their stuff together very quickly, get tents up, get things, react very quickly to this and get that going. They still have to come in, fill out a simplified permit for the building, the code enforcer and the building inspector to review for safety, but there's fees are waived and there's no site plan review. So it's very helpful to streamline that for them. That runs out October 15th. So at that juncture, we'll have to address any changes that were done to structures that people want to keep. I anticipate we might have to, visit that through the site plan. Someone might have put up an awning and say, oh, I want to keep it now type of thing. Now we'll just have to go through the actual process at that point. This week I signed an executive order on the sign ordinance. There's a number of temporary signs that have gone up in different locations. And I've asked the building inspector and the code enforcer to pull back a little bit on enforcement, but we figured it would be a little more kosher if we actually gave them something so that they could avoid enforcing that. It was helpful. I think it's helpful for people to say we're open or takeout is available or, sit down is now here. So we've waived the temporary sign ordinance for those folks until that one is also until October 15th as well. So those 2 I think were very helpful. And I think another example of how the town of Glenville is pro business and helping its small business members. And then I just want to point out we had a phenomenal reception to our senior relief program. It was a huge hit. I want to thank all our sponsors. I want to thank all our residents. I want to thank all our businesses. Everybody stepped up to this one. My hope was that we were going to raise $5,000. I really thought if we could just do $5,000, we're way ahead. We're still counting, but we're up towards $12,000, which is astonishing. People came out and we want to help our seniors, we want to help our small businesses, and I want to thank everyone. I can't, I have a list of all the donors and all the folks, and I can't thank everyone here, but you all know who you are. We very much appreciate it, and it's just another example of what a great town we have and how much we come together and help each other. And we're not done. We've got more work to do. We're going to get these cards. We're going to be able to go out and buy cards to these businesses, gift cards, and get them to the seniors. The seniors will be able to get their warm meals, and we're very excited about that. And lastly, I just want to note the passing of Joyce Madelone. I was upset to hear that. I knew she had been sick for a little bit. I served with her in Rotary. She was a Rotary president. She was just a community leader and passionate about the work she did. But, I want to point out that she was one of the driving forces behind the Legacy Project. And when that group brought that to me, I saw the passion in Joyce and Larry and some others on the Legacy Project. And I made a commitment to that group that I would do everything I can to get them a home for that project. And I'm glad that we were able to do that for Joyce before she passed. And I think now that we're on the track of getting this open, getting this set, I just think it's apropos, and I think it's something that we could always keep Joyce in our thoughts when we continue to push towards that project's completion. So she was a great lady, and she'll be missed here in the town of Glenville. And with that, that's all I have. We'll move on to our public hearing, which I will open, and it is to consider a proposed petition for establishing the extension of Sewer District 9 to include 27 Maple Avenue. I will open that public hearing. Anyone wish to be heard on that matter? If you do and you're muted, just raise your hand. Anyone wish to be heard on that matter? Going once, going twice. Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Next resolution is a resolution setting the water warrant for Water District 11. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? This again is just setting the water warrant for Water District 11, which totals almost $1.5 million for all water rents that are receivable through special contracts and through sewer. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. While we're on water, just quickly, I should have probably put it in my comments. We've had a tough 2 weeks on our water consumption. We are putting out water at an incredible pace, levels we haven't seen in the past. On top of that, the New York State Power Authority has decided to take the driest time of the year during a heat wave and do some things to the locks, which have caused the river to run dry, which means we can't recharge our aquifer. The other day, we actually started sucking air in pump 2. We had to close pump 2 down, actually. I've spent a great part of my past 2 days on the phone with Senator Tedisco, Assemblywoman Walsh, the Power Authority, Ray Gillen at Metroplex. This is an issue that's affecting Niskayuna at this point, Schenectady. We think we've successfully been able to get them to drop the gates so that they can replenish the water onto the river, but it's taken a couple days and we're dangerously close to having issues with our wells. So I just wanted to let you guys know that if you hear anything or if anyone calls you anything, we are on it. I think the Power Authority did not have a full understanding of what implications they were having on our water supplies in these river towns. So we're getting that. We think by tomorrow morning we're going to be okay, but I'll keep you up to date. So I'm sorry I forgot to mention that one earlier. Next, resolution 9, scheduling a public hearing for July 15th regarding legislation on supplemental regulations for grading and siting. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is a public hearing for proposed changes to the Town Code, Chapter 270, Section 459, regarding grading and site preparation. These suggested revisions are as a result of the Code Revision Committee, as I mentioned earlier. And this really just puts into practice some best management practices for grading and site preparation that the staff can consider in their reviews as projects come through. And it's just going to make our projects ultimately that much better, as this is a key component of how they're executed. So this is a change to that law to really put forth some best practices.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 11, approving, oh no, I'm sorry, 10, resolution scheduling yet another public hearing on the same day, July 15th, regarding legislation on stormwater management and erosion control. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, this is a very similar matter. It's concerning another section of the code, Chapter 270, Sections 75 through 82.10, regarding stormwater management and erosion control. again, forthcoming from the Code Revision Committee, and the good work done by our staff in terms of trying, to find those best practices for stormwater control and putting them into practice in the plans as they're reviewed. And this is a result of that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 11, approving the extension 21 to Sewer District 9. This is the property we just had a public hearing on, known as 27 Maple Avenue. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Again, this is just the resolution that actually allows the extension for that property. We did have a public hearing. We have done the map plan and review. We've properly studied it. As you go through the resolution, you'll see there's much evidence that supports this. And this again will establish the extension for 27 Maple Avenue is extension 21 in District 9. Any other questions or comments? I'm sorry.
Date in it, whereas refers to the public hearing, it shouldn't be today's date.
Should be, I was going to point that out to him. We can just make that.
Right. Yeah.
We don't need to amend that.
Okay.
So it should be the 17th.
It's a technical amendment.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 12, establishing the standard workday for New York State retirement system for elected officials. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. As I think you all know, elected officials have to establish their workday within the first 6 months, I think, of their term. And so this would be for the folks who just were elected in the last election. So it'd be Councilman Martin, Councilwoman Worzbowski. And this establishes their workday after they've kept their calendar and submitted it to the town comptroller. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. Next, resolution 13, approving the town board minutes for May 20th and June 3rd. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Supervisor, I'd make a motion to sever 13 and also have a 13A so that we address separately approval of the minutes of the May 20th, 2020 meeting and approval of the minutes of the special meeting on June 3rd, 2020.
So you want it wouldn't be an amendment, it'd be a new resolution for one. Which one do you have?
I have some specific comments regarding the May 20th, 2020.
So for the purpose of this resolution, why don't we amend it to strike May 20, 2020 and just adopt June 3rd, 2020?
That's fine.
And then we could address that in a different resolution. We could just introduce a resolution, right, Earl?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. So we will drop. So your motion, Councilman, is to strike May 20, 2020 out of that resolution.
Correct.
And so do I have a second to that amendment?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to an amendment. This would be 13A that would remove May 20th, 2020 from this resolution, and we're only approving June 3rd, 2020. So we need a vote on the amendment first. Any other statements or questions before the vote? Okay, so this is for a yes vote is that you are amending it, and no vote is you're not amending it. Please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, amendment passes. Let's take up resolution 13A. I have a motion regarding the approval of minutes for June 3rd.
I'll move it.
Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Any questions?
And Mr. Supervisor, this is a pro forma resolution that comes before the board. This is a special meeting that occurred on June 3rd regarding a permit for approval of a permit over at the Glenville Funeral Home, and Ms. Neal's and her staff have kindly prepared the minutes and circulated them, and I hope we've got a chance to review them at this point.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. So I think to keep it neat, we can do an add-on 2 after add-on 1, which would be a town board minutes for May 20, 2020. That's okay with everybody. We'll move on to resolution 14, which is to monthly departmental reports, accept the monthly departmental reports. Do I have a motion?
I'm moving.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Again, Mr. Supervisor, this is one of our pro forma resolutions, essentially all of the reports circulated by the various departments for the town, circulated to the town board members via email.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, the resolution passes. Next resolution, add-on 1, accepting the lowest responsible bid submitted by Newcastle Paving for $36,121 for paving of the senior center parking lot. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. As I just read, this is the bid just came in the other day, and as you can see on that list, fairly close, but 36,121 is the
It's
lowest.
always a good indication of a well-written spec.
Yeah, that and I'm hoping our roads come in. I think some folks, aggregates probably a little bit cheap, as we've been saying, and I'm hoping some people are looking for business. This, just to point out, is the project in the senior center that was in the budget. We've talked about since the COVID-19 situation happened, that we're putting these projects through a criteria. This is the one that we all talked about, I don't know, maybe back in April or so, that is just the finishing, the last piece for this senior center project, and then it's over. We've done that project. So particularly because they came in so well under budget, it makes a lot of sense to go forward.
How far on budget is it?
Well, like I say, it's kind of a misnomer under budget, but we anticipated $80,000. That's what we budgeted for it. So it's 36,000.
That's a big win.
Yeah, so that helps a lot. So that will complete the senior center expansion. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, please record the vote.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
Yes.
Councilman Godlewski?
Yes.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, resolution passes. We do have an add-on resolution 2 now, which would be approving the town board minutes for May 20th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Supervisor, the reason why I asked to separate the resolution, as you recall, during the May 20th, 2020 meeting, there was a resolution brought before the board regarding monies being allocated to Indian Meadows Park, specifically for repaving of the tennis courts. The resolution that was initially brought forward was amended to reflect that there's a $40,000 allocation, and that the $40,000 allocation was actually money coming from the federal government. One of our county legislators was virtually in attendance during the meeting. One of our county legislator, Osterlich, she did approach me after the meeting. I think she approached you. I know she approached Councilman Aragosa regarding where the money was coming from. My understanding is that the money was coming from a bond that was done by Schenectady County. As far as, making sure that the minutes, so I understand that in doing this, we're penalizing the minutes here, but I am concerned with the fact that essentially the record would remain inaccurate. And, the minutes are an accurate reflection of the meeting that occurred, but we go back and we have an inaccuracy at that meeting. So that's my issue. I want to make sure, from my perspective, as a, member of this board who's a recipient of money, I have no real stake in the game as far as where the money comes from. I'm just happy to see the tennis courts being repaved, but certainly want to make sure that we're giving credit where credit's due. In other circumstances, where we make sure that we do that. So I think there should be some gesture acknowledging that the resolution as it currently stands and as it's passed by the board is inaccurate.
Well, that's allegedly your you feel that it's inaccurate based on one conversation with a county legislator who I've had the same conversation. The problem I have is I've got two legislators who tell me the exact opposite story. So two legislators are telling me that it's coming from the federal government, that this is something that happens every, I don't know if it's 4 or 6 years, whatever they said, that it comes to the counties for park spending to their towns. There are two legislators who said that when that money was first allocated. When it came on scene, that's how it was presented to us. And
So is this the case with the counties, like a pass-through?
yes, exactly. And now we have one legislator who is saying something different, who I don't believe was there when this actually, I don't believe she was there when this actually was awarded to the county. So I'm not casting dispersions on her, certainly not, but I don't think we should cast dispersions on the other legislators either. And I think that the county ought to get their fiscal house in order and figure out where their money's coming from and where their money's going before we go changing anything in our minutes. That's the information we were given when it came to us. I have a resident, actually, if we want to, I could bring a resident under oath who was on the conversation, an All Applause resident who had the same information given to them. And I believe we have a staff member who had the same information given to her. So it's not us who's being inaccurate, it's us who's trying to clarify. But I think what we should do is accept our minutes and let the county provide proof and some indication of where their money is coming from and going. I think it seems like folks may not have a clear understanding on the board, and they need to get that in order. So we have a motion on accepting the minutes. Lack of any evidence either way, the minutes stand, I believe, and I would call a vote for the minutes as written.
Councilman Martin?
Yes.
Councilman Aragosa?
No.
Councilman Godlewski?
No.
Supervisor Pettsley?
Yes, so the resolution does not pass. We'll have to bring that resolution back out when we have a third board member. And we will address those minutes when they come back out. And in the meantime, I'd ask the county manager, give me a call. My number is 688-1201. He may not have it, but at 688-1201, he can give me a call and we can discuss exactly where that money has come from and how it was allocated. So thank you. Other than that, I'll go on to new business and I'll start on my left with Councilman Godlewski. Councilman Martin.
Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity, as Councilman Godlewski, alluded to earlier about the times we're in. And I just want to, as one voting member of this board and a councilman on this board, I want to offer my support and appreciation to our town police force. There's been a lot of discussion about, building community into the police departments across the country and having them more closely aligned with the people they serve. And I just want to say, I think that's already here. And I think our policemen and women do a fantastic job. And I just so appreciate the work they do each and every day on behalf of the people in this community. And they have my full support. And I think it's important, to come out and say that and not just take that for granted. And I certainly do not. And I think it's a wonderful job that they do. And I just want to make sure that point is made, especially in this current time, because we're lucky and fortunate to have such fine men and women in those positions. And then on the sales tax issue, I would like to ask that be brought up for a discussion item at one of our work sessions and a formal approach towards this community and this board, taking a position, as to what should happen with that agreement. And I would, like to involve topics such as, can we get a meeting with our county reps here, invite them in to discuss this, Can we look at the idea of a shorter term agreement, especially in lieu of, the unstable nature of these times and government revenues and where things stand with, supposed state or federal aid. All those things are going to impact this, so there's no need to set forth another 20-year agreement in this current circumstance, in my opinion, at least, if not some certainly more equitable, fair revenues coming to the townships in this county who bear the brunt of these impacts of the development that produce the sales tax revenue. I know what the state law is, again, I get it, but as a practical matter, that just is not fair and it does not function in this county. So that's my request.
Thank you. Councilman Aragosa. Okay, I have no new business as well. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will move that.
Take a second.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Well, we only got one aye. Aye.
That's all right.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you. Jim was just going to be the only aye.
I was ready to say aye.